Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry, Speakers Magazine TV. And I'm excited today because you're going to hear from one of the trailblazers in motivational speaking. And she is none other than Jewel Diamond Taylor. I met her many, many years ago. This was one of the books, and you can see how much I've read it. I've got stickers in it, and I always recommend it to folks. But we're going to talk about her book, her journey. She came from DC. Now she's living in California. She has an event coming up in Malibu. But out of all the things, she's a person that inspired me to do what I'm doing today because it was like when I met Jewel, I was like, this is what I am meant to do to promote African American authors and speakers, those that have a life changing message. So, right after this, we're going to bring up Jewel. And that was about 24 years ago. Yeah, that was about 24 years ago. And I met Jewel and we were talking about at Apple Book Center. And so I'll just kind of let you know a little bit about over the 24 years what's been going on.
Knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone, but Pam Perry PR, 24 years strong, she know the do's and don'ts, 24 years stepping over traps, hashing clickbait, so you stay on track. She still got game, world-class PR, going hard in the paint for beginners and saints, check it. Pam Perry PR, making all the moves, working her magic so you don't lose. Pam Perry making your dreams come true. She know what to do. 24 years in the game, put some respect on her name. 24 years in the game, put some respect on her name. We got mad love for Pam Perry PR. Keep doing your thing, you know what I mean. Bye, leave that, do your thing. Pam Perry PR, 24 years strong and still standing tall.
So, like I said, that was 24 years ago, right?
Oh
We
my,
were really doing the thing. And this was the book. This was the book because at the beginning of it, you says it's kind of, at this point it says, Pam, read often and grow. This was 1998.
oh my gosh. So that was 26 years ago.
Right. But you
Yes.
were the one that inspired me because it's like someone who is putting a fish in water because I was doing PR for the Salvation Army. I had did it for some agencies. I was doing, but when I started promoting books and African American books, Apple Book Center, because your sister was with you, and it was like that was the thing that I felt that I was meant to do because this book is so good that I was recommended to everybody. I know you've written a lot of books since then, but you know how you always have your favorite. Then look at the back on there. It says,
Yes. Oh my goodness.
and it wasn't too many outside of church that we heard motivational speaking.
No, you did not.
You didn't. So when I say you're a trailblazer, you truly were a trailblazer because we were at that Apple Book Center and people weren't publishing books. So this is 1998. This is before quote unquote self-publishing was a thing. We
And I
actually
started in 1984.
Wow, wow, and these were like some of the first books that you have, and
Exactly.
you had some other ones, but this was the one that kind of brought you doing the book tours from California to Detroit and doing all the things, and that's when we met, and I felt like when I met you and your sister Joy, you guys got the cool names, right? Jewel, Diamond, and Joy. It's like your mom was like, I'm gonna name these children. This is what they gonna be.
Yes.
I just knew that the way you inspired me and you inspired the crowd and they were hanging on every word and they left there feeling empowered for real. Some of them were in tears, they were transformed. I knew that I want to get more people to hear people like you and more. And just to give you more shine, a bigger stage to hear your story. And that was when it just changed for me. I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And it was for African Americans because I felt that, they had other white speakers, that kind of thing, Brian Tracy and all that kind of stuff. And they were fine, doing what they do. But in our community, it was different. And like I said, the tears were shed. People just connected to you. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And so I want to say thank you publicly for inspiring me to do this. Sister Friends and Success Gems. I think I let someone borrow that book and they didn't give it back. but
That happens a lot.
it happens a
But
lot. But I like
congratulations to you, Pam, because you carved out your niche.
it was. It
And
was it was
that's
a niche. No one was doing it back then.
yes,
Nobody was
you're
doing it.
outstanding. I mean, you've empowered and launched so many speakers. And it's just a shame that I didn't, latch on to you back then. I was just, it was going so fast and there was
It
so much
was.
momentum. I just kind of felt like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, the momentum was crazy. I was flying every week, working all the time, and
Woo!
just in a spin. And you
Yeah,
think that it's going to last forever. And then you realize that you've got to reinvent yourself. You have to
you do.
rebrand yourself. There's so many people that still don't know me. So thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, you're welcome. And so that part right there about uh on the back of this, because you have different endorsements. So Marie Denise Dowd, she was executive producer of African American Women on Tour. Talk
Yeah,
about pivots. So that was even before they were doing Essence Fest, right? That
right.
was way before that. So talk
Way
a
before.
little bit about where Marie Dowd is now, or how you were involved in African American Women on Tour, which was cutting edge back in the time, right? That was
Most
like the
definitely. You talk about trailblazing. Maria Dowd was a trailblazer, and I was fortunate to be on tour with her for
yep.
12 years,
Yes, yes.
crisscrossing the
Your
nation,
face was always on that flyer.
Yeah, yeah, always there. And it's because I asked. And that's one of the tips I tell people. You have to
Mhm.
ask. I
Yes.
was working somewhere else part-time and doing part-time speaking locally. And I
Mhm.
read about it in the newspaper and I called up and I said, I want to be a part of this amazing conference with Susan L. Taylor and Francis
Yes.
Chris Welsing and Dr. Barbara
Beyond.
King. And she said, oh, we're good. We don't need anybody. And I had already announced to my circle at the time, I'm going to be on tour with African American women on tour. And then I called again and she said, you know what? I'm not much of I'm an introvert. I need a face. I need somebody to do all the introductions. You can do a workshop. I can't pay you. And I tell speakers all the time, I started from free to fee.
There you go. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love that. You know what, Jules? So think about this. You read something in the newspaper, which is what I I'm a big proponent of newspaper and print and online stories. So you read about it, followed up, and made the call. And
Yeah.
so many speakers see things today online, wherever, and they won't make the call, they
Yeah.
won't make the introduction, but it takes a little bit of emotional intelligence, courage,
Hmm.
and just like what you said, you announced it to your circle that you see yourself there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I said,
and
guess what? I'm going to be on tour.
yes, that was it, and you
So you
saw
talk
yourself
about
there.
manifestation. I really teach a lot about the power of your words
Mhm.
and your worthiness. I felt worthy. I felt ready. Um,
You were.
I was unstoppable, and I've
Mhm,
continued to be that way. It's really an asset to really believe in yourself and to be unstoppable
mhm.
and ask for what you want.
Listen, you're affectionately known as the, self-esteem doctor. So you have to walk
Yeah,
the talk. And
yeah.
so feeling worthy is a big part of it, especially for women. Sometimes they feel like they're second rate, or, they're overlooked, or they feel invisible. They may not even feel good about themselves. They just feel invisible. And so you really empower people and encourage people and inspire people to take the next step. And so one of the things that okay, excuse me. So one of the things that I really want you to talk about, from showing up at
Mhm.
African American Women on Tour, what happened after that? So you were meeting people like Susan L. Taylor and
Yes, Iyanla Van Zant. That's where she really launched her career speaking
mhm.
there.
Yes, she did.
It was just so Dr. Maya Angelou, Gladys Knight, Felicia Rashad, Alice Walker, Lynn Whitfield. I
Glenda
could just go.
Bridgeforth. You remember
Pardon me.
Glenda Bridgeforth? She did the
Yes,
money
yes,
books. And
yes.
there's a lot of money books out there now that women are doing that she was a pioneer in that.
She was a pioneer. I
Yes.
mean, the whole conference was a trailblazer. And what happened after that, I think mega churches realize, wait a minute, Black women are gathering, Black
Yes.
women are spending money, Black women are writing books, Black
Mhm.
women are telling their story. So it was really rare to see a Black woman on a cover of a book. And,
It
that
was.
was like over 30 years ago. I had no idea where that would take me. I just knew that I was ready. I knew I was ready to walk out of corporate America. I
Mhm.
knew that when I'm on that stage, the spirit takes over. It's not
Mhm.
me. I know
Mhm.
that I was born to do this.
Yes.
And being a part of that great movement, which I call a movement, I got introduced to so many event planners. I began to speak. My first two international speaking engagements came from that conference. I was invited to speak in London. I was
Ooh.
invited to speak in Turks and Caicos. I
Yes.
was invited to speak for the U.S. Department of Treasury, the U.S.
Mhm.
Mint, I mean, IRS, the FDA,
Mhm.
all the
Mhm.
letters of the government.
Mhm. And
I
you're
was,
from the DC area, so you know that's a big
yes,
deal. That's a big deal.
yes.
Right, right.
And that's because I was in the right place at the right time. There was no social media at the time. And at that time,
That's
it
true.
was who knew you. And
Yes.
I learned how important it was to stay in contact with event planners. And I'm
Mhm.
still in touch with some today. I've had so many repeat invitations because I nurtured that relationship and they saw the value that I brought.
Mhm.
But it's a
Mhm.
new day now with social media. And by me being a seasoned woman, I really have to let people know that I have a lot to bring to the
Mhm.
table.
Wisdom.
Uh,
Mhm.
so much about leadership. When I started, Pam, we didn't have the word empowerment. It was motivation. You're a
Yeah.
motivational speaker.
Mhm.
And I really realized you cannot motivate people. You can inspire them with your story. And I have many stories to share. I realized you can inspire them by your example. So I would
Mhm.
share, some of the do's and the don'ts, some of the things where I stumbled, some of the things that I didn't know how to do because I'm what I call an entrepreneur. And so I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have you in my corner. I was really self directed, self taught, unbossed. And I learned a lot of things I should continue to do, and things I should never do again. And so I
Mhm.
love passing along those gems to others. I unapologetically love working with women specifically
Yeah.
as a wife of 54 years, as a mother, as a
Wow.
grandmother, as a mother who's lost an adult child to cancer, lost
Mhm.
parents to cancer.
Mhm.
Um, my outreach has expanded because what I'm finding is that the audiences I speak for, Pam, have challenges with coping with life.
Yes. Yes, they really do.
Yeah,
And especially post-pandemic, uh
especially.
even though we're not in that place anymore, the loss is still there, the grief from that is still there. Uh, it is it is something where mental health is talked about more often
Hmm.
than I've ever seen any time
Exactly.
in history
It's no
because
longer taboo.
yes, yes, it's no longer taboo, and then people basically now know that for me, reading books like this really helped me through places when I'm feeling a little discouraged, and I'll read it and I'll pick myself up, So I'll just read a little bit out of Jules' book. So these are some gems from this book
Wow.
was signed in
I
1996. So
love it.
this one says, simplify each day. So many times now we're just so crazy. It says simplify each day. Some things you must delegate, some things you have to dump, some things you have to get done. So do it. It's easier to accomplish this when your goals are written down and in order of their priority. What's the three most important tasks at hand today? Focus on that first. And basically, this chapter was talking about how to avoid burnout. And we hear this word all the time. This was like in 1996, right? So we're talking about like how to avoid. And so now I see a whole community like women conferences about burnout, this and that. I was like, okay, they should have read Jules' book like 20 something years ago. Okay. It's like
Right. Because
this
back
is
then we didn't talk about self care. I
no,
just knew
we
that women
didn't.
were burned out. And
Yes.
the simple thing is delegating. Sometimes it's very difficult for leaders. There's so many women that are head of the household, they're
Yeah.
business women, they're raising their families, they're caregiving. This is what I'm experiencing so much from my
Mhm.
counseling and interactions with my audiences. So many are caregiving and they don't like to ask for help. And what
Yes.
happens is the burnout. What happens, they end up being sick. What happens, they end up being financially strapped because they're not asking for help. And so that's an act of self care to say, you know what? I value myself. I'm going to have the courage to say, look, sibling, I need help.
Mhm.
Look,
Mhm.
I need, I need help. I need a day off. And I'm finding that so many women of color have a difficulty
Yes. And one
being
of the
vulnerable.
yes, and one of the things that you used to say, and you had little notepads about it, it says, "Keep the main thing the main thing."
That's it.
That was
That's it.
your that was like one of your taglines.
It
And
still
then I
is.
wanna say, "Blessed to be too
Too
blessed
Blessed to
to
Be Stressed was one
rest."
of my books. Yeah.
Yes,
And
that
that
was one.
was as a result of being with the African American women on tour.
Yes.
We were in Dallas. And, back in those days, we had so many vendors and so many wonderful
Ooh.
Afrocentric clothes. And I would shop and shop and shop and shop. And I remember coming home with all these beautiful clothes that I bought. And when I got to the airport here in California, and I was traveling with my sister Joy. Her luggage arrived, but mine did not. And my hands
Mm-mm.
went on my hips. I'm like, excuse me, now where is my luggage? And the person at customer service looked at me like, get over it. It happens all the time. And I'm just stressing out. Where's my luggage? Because I'm thinking about all the things that I had purchased. And all of a sudden, I heard a still small voice. And we call God, something told me. Well, something told me, Jewel, all the books you brought, you sold all of them. All the money, you still have it. Your family was safe while you were gone. And guess what, Jewel? The plane did not crash. You're too
There you go.
blessed to be stressed. And so in the early 90s, I penned that book. And
Mhm.
after that, I started seeing it everywhere on calendars and mugs and
Oh
t
my
shirts.
goodness.
But it
T-shirts.
was from a real experience of realizing that I was blessed and that I should
Mhm.
not be stressed because stress puts us in the hospital.
Yes.
Most people that are in the hospital is because of some form of stress, not coping well with life, um, being isolated. And as you said, with the pandemic, it just brought on a whole new set of issues, mental and emotional and spiritual battles that people are dealing with. And this is my area of expertise.
Mhm.
I am a counselor. I'm a talk therapist. I'm an ordained minister. I'm an author. I'm a life coach. And so, whether I'm at the podium or the pulpit or one on one, I'm addressing these issues where people are falling through the cracks because they're not coping well. And I'm
Mhm.
so glad that it's now part of our conversation to say, you know what, I can't, I'm done. I'm overwhelmed. I'm burned out. I can't do this anymore.
Mhm.
And to be able to pass along my pearls of wisdom from my own experiences
Yeah.
is such a blessing.
There is something on the back of this book, and I interviewed her not too long ago. Her name is Janice Robinson, and
Mm.
she's a publisher of Successful Black Parenting magazine.
Uh-huh.
And I like how people go fall into their purpose. I mean, or discover their purpose, and it's after so many things that you go through. And Janice said that the reason why she started Successful Parenting magazine was because her teen daughter was a supermodel. And people
Mm.
were always asking her, how did she end up on the cover of Vogue? Or how did she do this or whatever? But she spent so much time with her teenage daughter, who was very tall for her age, but she had this knack for fashion and she really loved fashion and modeling.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically helped her career.
Mm.
And, during that time, it wasn't a lot of black you didn't see a lot of black, women doing that sort of thing that she was doing, and she ended up being like a supermodel doing all the things, New York Fashion Week, all of that, and so people said, "Well, how does my daughter get into this? How do I," and so that's where the the purpose of her, and that has been I'm looking at this, so it was the number 1 African American parenting magazine, Successful Parenting magazine, and Janice did that, and she's still doing it. It's just online now. She
Yep.
made a pivot, but one of the things is that the mission is still clear because she's just really does a lot of research about how parents, if your children has Down syndrome or autism, how you can be successful at parenting, and that's just been her mission for
I
forever,
love
like,
that.
the last 20 years, and I think she was a teacher before that. So then she's still in a way kinda in that same realm, but now she's just doing it with the magazine and speaking and that sort of thing. So I wanna just say that And then there's one other person, Stephanie Stokes Oliver. She was the editor in
Um,
chief of Heart and Soul magazine.
oh my goodness, I remember that magazine. Mm,
Yes, yes. And they inspired me between Essence and Heart and Soul and Upscale
and
and Black
upscale.
Enterprise and
Yes, Jet magazine.
Jet Mag. Oh, I
And
love
I
Jet
got to
too.
contribute to all of those magazines at one point.
Oh my
What a
goodness.
blessing.
That is.
And that, you know, I teach a lot about setting your goals, having a vision,
Mhm,
manifestation. And those are the kind of things that I talk about, the techniques, the little hacks that you can do to make these things happen, to
mhm.
allow it to happen, to believe it can happen. And so when you mention those magazines, oh my God, I got to write for all of those
You
magazines.
did, and that
And
was huge. It was on the stands. I would go through the airport, I would pick it
yeah,
up, and those are like some of the gems. So name some of the books. I know I'm holding this one, Sister Friends, and you had Success Gems. So name some of the other books as well.
I Am Resilient, which I
Yeah.
wrote after my son passed, 38-year-old son passed from cancer.
Okay.
My most popular one now is Shift, SHIFT.
Okay.
Shift happens.
Okay.
Because, as I said, when I would do corporate training, when I would do leadership training, counseling, people were not dealing well with shift. And this was before the pandemic. So now
Mm,
people are ordering it now because they're realizing they're still trying to bounce back and pivot from this
yeah.
historical chapter in our lives. Like, how do I get back on my feet? How
Mhm.
do I not have a lot of anger? How do I rebuild? How
Right.
do I still believe in God? How do I
Mm,
pivot in a way that I don't lose my joy and my purpose? Do I have to package it differently? Do I need to? Do I realize that I can do more with less? That's one of the things I learned. I streamline. I deal with so many people that are dealing with grief and they're not coping well at all, whether it's their house or their breast from breast cancer or
mhm.
losing their
Wow.
mate or their child or their business. Their self worth is so linked to it, they don't know how to recover. So my greatest passion is teaching and studying psychology and neurology, understanding the brain,
Yeah.
how we can bounce back, how we are creatures of habit, how we are triggered,
Mhm.
how we keep falling into the same pattern. And we want to blame other people, or we want to blame the government, or we want to blame that ex, or we even want to blame ourselves. And so I
Mhm.
help others, especially women, how to overcome these toxic patterns
Mm.
and toxic self talk. What am
Yes.
I saying to myself?
That's so true.
You
People
know,
sometimes it's like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so dumb," or "I'm
oh,
so
I'm so
stupid."
dumb. I'm so fat. I'm so old. You
Yes,
know,
yes.
uh,
Those are the words that will stick and then just become like little, uh, edges, they're just pricking at your soul,
right.
so don't say those
They come.
negative words, just
They become
know.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
See, we're powerful. We
Mhm.
become self. We become our own prophet. A prophet is the one who predicts what's going to happen. So when you say, "Oh my God, I'm not going to make it. Oh my God, nobody loves me. Oh, I'll never get those sales again. Oh, I'll never be happy again. Oh, I'll never, feel good again." Well, then you are already prophesying over yourself because
Mm.
your words are powerful. And
And
so
so
it's
you can
not
do the
that you're
opposite.
being, yeah,
Right. Do
yeah,
the opposite with the affirmations.
yeah, yeah.
Those are some of the things, this is one of the affirmations that I use with you. It says, "I promise to take good care of my total well-being without
Mm,
excuses, blame, hesitation, or apology. I joyfully and proactively work on improving my mind, body, emotions, relationships, career, finances, dream, self-esteem, and spiritual joy." And then you have like a little checklist down there at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that
you
where it
go,
says
Pam. Oh my
self
God, this is so great.
self-care goals and promises. I'm telling you, I love this book. I recommended this book so many times because a lot of times where it says the self-care goals and promises is just like a little check marks you have on here. Just some of this the simple things.
Yeah.
Mammogram is very important. Pap smear. Okay. So you had that on there, right? Those are dental care, I got savings account, mental health day off from work, vacation retreat, massage, buy myself a gift, whether it's art, jewelry, take myself on a date, special intro classes, write poetry, listen to a favorite music, drink more water,
Drink more.
drink more
And you
water.
know why I did that, Pam? Because I had so many women saying to me, "Well, how do I take care of myself? Well, what is an affirmation? Because they thought it was something strange. It's like if it wasn't scriptural at that time,
Right,
a
right.
lot of women really kind of looked down upon an affirmation. Like, what
Yes.
is that? It was new language. It was a new language to learn, that you are affirming and you are speaking life over yourself. So I
Mhm.
was determined to give them examples of how they could begin to journal, I've made my own flashcards with affirmations on them. I
Mhm.
call them
Yes,
rejuvenation.
jewel. Right.
And so now affirmations are part of our mainstream language. But back then, 30 years ago, what is an affirmation?
Mm-mm,
What is a
mm-mm.
vision? What is a vision board? I was teaching vision boards in the 80s,
Right.
in the 90s.
Then it didn't
Um,
really become popular
no,
until
no,
last few years. People are having
yeah,
vision board
yeah,
parties and that kind of thing. That
right.
I save everything. So that's one of my things. If it's words, if it's paper, I'm gonna have it. It's a magazine. So this particular, I don't know if you
Oh
can
my
see.
gosh, Pam, I remember that. Oh
I'm telling you, you inspired me, you influenced me. This I am the product of Jewel Diamond Taylor. Okay. So
my,
this right here, motivational speaker and author, that's what you were back then. And then it says, breathe in peace and love into your heart. Walk by faith, not by sight. Exercise your mind with new knowledge. Press towards the mark. Stay focused on your goals. Step out of your comfort zone. These are
come
things
on.
that literally stretch and reach for new opportunity. Be flexible and reduce your stress. Push up and discipline to overcome weaknesses. Pump up your self-esteem. So that was always on message. That was always your
Mhm.
point. Lift up hope and positive attitude. Reduce the weight of fear, anger, and stress. Get up. Stop sitting on your assets.
Assets.
Uh-huh. Run with patience. Don't give up. And then you are too blessed to be stressed. Jump
Yes.
for joy. Right. That
Woo!
is
Now
this
you're
is
taking me back. You are taking me way back.
so when we placed that story in Women's Journal, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this because you have an event coming up. So talk a little bit about the event that's coming up, that the retreat that you do.
Well, what you're showing me too, Pam, is that I've been consistent.
Yes.
I'm still teaching the same thing, teaching the
Yes.
same thing.
Yes.
And so for every year since 1986, I've always hosted women's retreats in the mountains, on cruise ships, and Palm Springs. And for the last 10 years, I've been hosting my own signature Women on the Grow retreat in beautiful Malibu, California. And it's a hidden gem. It's beautiful. It's nestled in the hills. But then
Mhm.
on the last day, we go down to the water. But we have our next one coming up September the 3rd through the 6th.
Mhm.
And when we first did it, we did one night. It's like, oh no, we got to stay longer. So next, let's do 2 nights. So now we're doing 3 nights. But for those that cannot take off, the entire week, or it's not in your budget, we're giving you the option to stay 1 night, 2 nights, or 3 nights.
Oh,
It's
okay.
an ultimate retreat. And I
Yeah.
always want people to understand, I'm not saying resort, I'm saying retreat. This
Sweet.
means this is a place to come where you are feeling burned out, where you need to exhale, where you want to have that sweet sister fellowship, no judgment,
Mhm.
peace, nature, delicious food. And I take great joy in being a retreat queen, because I create these wonderful icebreaker activities where the women
Yeah.
get to know each other, as
Mhm.
well as tap into the challenges and anxieties and strongholds that are keeping them from having a fuller life. So by the
Mhm.
time they leave, they're leaving lighter. They're feeling like someone sees me, someone's relating to me. It's
Mhm.
almost like a womb. I call the room that we actually have our activities in, it's like a womb room, because in
Mhm.
that room, we cry, we laugh, we dance, we
Mm.
pray, we meditate, we go on walks. I can't even begin to tell you I would love for you to come, Pam. I would love to just gift you with the experience. I know
Oh,
you're really busy, but if you can't come this year, I know we're going to do it again next year. But
yes,
we
yes.
invite anyone to come. We have a diverse group of women that come, lawyers, law enforcement, educators, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, retirees. We're
Mhm.
so proud of the diversity of women that we've attracted, because they're realizing it's time to take the mask off.
Yes, yes.
It's time to take the mask off. And
And
I
you
call,
and you've been saying that for this one, Sister
yeah,
Friends, empowerment for women and a celebration of sisterhoods. It's just one of
yeah,
those. main things. You talk
Yeah.
about goal setting and strategies and vision boarding and just
And you
I
asked me about the title of my books, and one of them is The 12 Faces of Eve. So I talk about taking the fake off and
mm,
really becoming more authentic, more comfortable in your skin,
yeah.
more courageous in your purpose. Because some things that women and men will ever learn is either taught, bought, or caught. And
Mm,
so, in the teaching that I have, and then actually being in the presence of myself and other dynamic women catch the vision. They get that empowerment. Like, wait a minute, I can do that. Wait a minute.
yeah.
Why do I think I'm the only one going through? Wait a minute. Why do I think I'm the only one going through a broken relationship, or I gained weight through the pandemic, or I'm having challenges as a parent, or I'm trying to get my finances together. I have amazing women that come and speak into their lives. Um,
Mm,
I've had so many one who owned her own mortuary, Dr. Rosie Milligan, who was an amazing woman that helped women to understand the importance of getting their trust, knowing the difference between a trust and a will. I've
mm,
had Black
mhm.
female dentists. I've had one time we had about maybe 15 all female police officers.
Wow.
Yeah,
And they're
retired lawyers,
yeah.
women that are still working, women that want to know, how do I retire? So they're asking the elders, what steps should I take? You've
Yeah,
got women that are single saying, I want to be in a relationship. And the dating game has changed. We
it
talked
is.
a lot about that at the last retreat. We focused a lot on relationships. I found that women have a lot of questions and a lot of hurt around relationships.
Mhm,
And
it is
so
different now.
I wrote a book on that. It's called um, Do What, oh my God, Follow Your Heart, but Take Your Brain with You.
Ooh, I love that.
Follow your heart, but
I
take
know
your
that's
brain
right.
with you.
That is so oh my good right,
Yeah.
because relationship is more than just the heart. It is also a business situation too. So
It's a
you just
wisdom,
can't
and it's not just the dating scene. It's so many women I find have broken relationships with their mother, or with their
mm,
daughter, or
there
with their
is.
sister friend. They've had some hurt. They've
Mhm,
got secrets. They've got wounds. They've had dysfunction. And so this word dysfunction didn't come up when I first started years ago, but now people are saying, you know what? We didn't get along. You know what? There's estrangement. You know what? I don't get along with my sibling. So my coworker, my boss. So I share a lot of dynamics about communication and healing and
mhm.
forgiveness and boundaries.
Yes, that is a big
Boundaries
one.
is really
Boundaries,
big. And that's
that's a
linked
good
to your
one.
self-esteem. That when you know your worth and you know that you need to put, like your commercial said, put some respect on Pam.
Put the wreck on
Well,
the
we as women got to put some respect on our
on the
name,
name.
you
That's so
know?
true.
And
I
a lot
love
of them
that.
were not taught how to do that.
Mhm.
So,
That is so true.
yeah.
I like the fact and they can go to jeweldiamondtaylor.com and actually get more information on the retreat as well, but all of her books, all of it she does a coaching, she's available to speak. Uh, bringing her in will just be a treat all by itself. If you can't get to the retreat, bring her to you, and that will be a treat. The other thing that I wanted to say is that when we you have, I saw something on there about a magazine, the Gold Girl magazine. It was a
You goal girl.
Gold Girl.
You
So tell us
goal girl.
the
And
Gold Girl.
yeah, you
Yeah, the
gold
Gold Girl.
girl. So it's a magazine that I was publishing. I was doing it every month. I'm going to start doing it just every quarter. But
Good.
what I wanted to focus on was women from all walks of life. I had one woman, she started her own shoes business, women that are athletes, women that are in real estate, women that have their own business, women with childcare, giving examples of women that set their goals and they're living their best life. They're
I
living
love
that through their passion. I share nuggets of inspiration so that women will pursue their goal and they will go for the goal and
that.
they will keep the main thing the
The
main
main
thing.
thing. That is
Yes.
it, that is it. I love that. So, Jewel, thank you so much for joining us today. I really am so inspired, still so inspired by you, and the being a trailblazer has not been easy. I know because it's like there's no what's the roadmap? There is no
The
roadmap. You
landscape
prepare,
has changed.
but then a lot of people come behind you because they have seen you, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things. The first lesson that you said doing this show was that you have to ask. If you don't
Yes.
ask, you don't get. That was one of the things you wrote in your one of your books as well. I
Right.
don't know which one that was, but you do ask. And so I like the fact that you walk your talk. The grief, of losing a child is just something that no parent ever wants to experience. But you talk from your experiences, being very authentic, how to help people heal, and how, when people say, oh, you can go through the different stages, and you're never really healed from that. You learn how to manage it,
No.
but it's always gonna be a hole in your heart because that person is gone, just like with our parents. I lost my
Right.
parents in 2019.
Right.
I will say that one of the things losing them both in 2019 was hard, but I can't imagine because if I had lost them during the pandemic and they could not have had a
Mm,
celebration,
I
right?
know.
There
Oh,
were no
you
funerals
have
in
my
2020.
condolences.
Like,
Oh,
you could
yeah.
not have done that if they had been, so this way it was a little bit more healing because the pandemic, but if they had been lost, so people who not only people who lost people during the pandemic, there weren't public funerals where they could really
Right.
share their grief.
And I know so many women that experience that, they didn't
Yes,
get to see their husband
yes.
um,
That
take their
those are
last breath, their child.
yeah,
It's just such a tragedy.
and
But
it's so
again,
grief
how do
upon
we
that.
bounce back? And so the
Mhm,
four things that I love helping women with is dealing with procrastination,
mhm, yeah.
shame,
Ooh, that's big.
regrets, and unworthiness, low self
Yeah.
esteem. Because
Mhm,
once you work on those four things, you will gain some momentum. You will be able to sustain the goal because you could teach people all day long how to get their goal, but then they can't sustain it because they're depressed, they're
mhm,
addicted, they're
mhm,
mad, they're angry, they're broke. They've got
mhm.
friends around them that are not their best,
Eating it, right.
influence. So once you gain worthiness and you improve, then you start to remove the people and things and habits and beliefs that are hindering you from fully living your best life. Thank
That
you
is
so
it.
much, Pam. You are a jewel, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you for all that you do for
Oh,
us.
thank you. Thank you so much, Jewel, because it has been really a blessing to know you and to see your career blossom. And being consistent is such a big thing. And you're teaching people that, speaking is not this new gig. You're not new to it, you're just true to it. And that's what you're teaching people. So thank you so much for joining us today. All right. God bless.
God bless you. Bye bye.